Joe moved. I don't move. This is the only time I can legally call him Dad and get away with it. Unofficial. We were beginning to think he was full of practical joke on us.
That's what it is.
3:34 and we started sharp. Sounds like management talk. They told me.
Hey Dennis, what are you looking for?
Yeah, but I'm gonna miss you.
Okay, it's okay if you would just get started. Bring it up. Got one right here.
Good.
Just forgot to use it at all. Let's start with an introduction of Joe and his wife. Joe Stefan, some of you probably know him. His lovely wife Maria, of about, what was it, 36, 38 years?
Married?
Yes. And his, I wasn't too specific. His daughter Susan. He's got two sons also, Robert and Michael, who couldn't be here today. I'll read a little bit of information that was given to me by a sponsor of this program. And it says, Joe was born in Yugoslavia in 1932. In 1947, he came to Munich, Germany, and he learned the trade of a barrel maker. Stand up, Joe. Let's see if you learned it well.
Whoa!
In 1952, Joe came to Detroit, Michigan, and worked in the carpenter trade. And in 1954, met Maria and got married in 1956. Wasted a lot of time there, Joe. They had 3 children, Robert, Michael, and Susan. And Joe worked as a carpenter in the building trade, building homes for a few years until he got a job at Fisher Body, wherever that was. He and his family like the outdoors. They like fishing, swimming, hunting, walking, and gardening. So they have a little summer cottage up by Port Huron, where they spend most of their free time. They have 4 grandchildren. From Robert and his oldest son Robert and his wife Sandy. Susan is still available. Humbug. After 30 years of working for General Motors, Joe has a nice family, a good life, and he's very thankful for that. And we're thankful for Joe. Joe has been a good part of this organization, and I'll have to say at no time have I ever seen him hostile that I want to explain. As we all know and have heard dozens and dozens of times, almost weekly when we have donuts, Joe is on a diet. He's still on a diet, especially with Maria here. She is his director of his diet. Unfortunately, when he gets out of sight and you guys bring in donuts, Maria's job is very difficult, as you can well see. So, we want to share with you, Maria, at this time, we understand what you've been going through, and we've been doing our best to try to help you. When we have donuts in here, for whatever reason, we try to separate Joe from the donuts. It may take 6 guys at a time, but sometimes we can almost do it. We've even taken the responsibility of sitting him at another table, even at retirement parties, so he wouldn't overindulge into our plates. And even with donuts, we've even taken the opportunity to just buy separate donuts just for Joe. Only 2. And he smiles and he says, rubs his tummy and he says, I feel good now. He says, I can go home and honestly look my wife in the eye and tell her I only ate 2 donuts. So he apparently told you that, and it is true. There's no joke there.
They weren't only that big.
And just a small memento of that, just so we can remind you, we brought you one more donut. And
That's 1, right?
we brought you one more donut. 1. Randy Carlisle was nice enough to stop and pick that up for us. He reminded us of that, so we thought it might be a good idea to let him take care of that. Yes, if you'll open that, and if you want to share it later with the rest of us.
I'll see I'm prepared.
Always prepared. He's always got call it a hillbilly boxing glove.
Well, this is a beautiful donut. That's nice. That tastes to be what you call
A nag.
no, for the delicacy.
What's it say
Maria-
on it, Joe? What does it say on it?
It says Happy Retirement, Joe.
Very good.
You know?
Takes a big donut to write all that on.
Yeah.
We just want you to know, Maria, this donut is exaggerated about 50%. The ones he ate weren't quite that large. They did not have the frosting. And to show our appreciation, Maria, of the task that you've had and tolerated, we would like to say thanks to you with a dozen lone stem red roses. We know that Joe's attitude depends a lot on his relationship with his family, and he has nothing but praise for you folks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have a few guest speakers, Joe, who really wanted to come by and say something to you. I don't know to what extent it will be or under what context it will be. It might be goodbye, it might be we're sorry to see you leave. But I'd like to start with the important folks that I've usually in the past left to the last. And these are our union representative, Mr. John Crisson from the UAW. John?
Congratulations. I wish you the best of everything. Long and healthy retirement. It's been a pleasure working with you. I don't know what else to say. But on behalf of the union, I'm going to give you also the retirement gift.
Okay, thank you very much. And I really enjoyed working in here. That was a real pleasure. We had a lot of going together. We go way back.
Oh yeah, way back.
We had good times, right? All the time. Thank you very much.
I'll hold this. Dennis Andolin? Dennis also has a presentation for you, Joe.
Joe, go back a few years. I'm proud to have you as an employee. On behalf of management, I'd like to present you with this small token of our appreciation for the great work you've done.
Thank you.
It's an Easter egg.
Well, yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah.
I don't know why he got a toolbox. He's never used the one he's got. But a little toolbox, a little work, right, Joe?
That's probably so I can put my locking tools in there when I do some locking. Can you tell a lot of practice? I'm retired a half hour and I... No, upside down. Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
That's very nice.
There's nothing in it?
Should I look? I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't get any information on it, but I was told, I guess not.
No.
Somebody chose not to pull a practical joke on you, Joe. Somebody was going to fill that tray at the top like your nut and bolt drawer in your big tool. Organized.
Like it's organized?
Like it's organized. Joe always keeps his top drawer organized, so we talked about doing that, but obviously we didn't get around to that. Pete Troper.
Joe, I don't know you that for that length of time, but the last 5.5 years that I had the pleasure of working with you, I just want to congratulate you and wish you all the luck in the world to your retirement. Okay, and in recognition that management provides you with a retirement flag. Don't pay attention to the name, we'll take care of it. But this is
That's my name on it.
I have a flag for you, Joe. And again, I wish you all the luck and do whatever your heart desires in the off times that you will have now. What I want you to do is report to me every once in a while how you're doing. Because I like to get a little first-hand information from somebody that's retired because I'm looking down and down the road to do the same thing. Yes. Once again, congratulations. I think Joe and I had a very good working relationship. Joe,
We never argued. I never sent it. I sent Dennis in to argue for me.
That's not the reason Dennis is gray, though.
I didn't have nothing to do with that.
Your flag wasn't done in time, but I have.
I was going to say I got a funny name.
Dorothy.
Dorothy Jackson, you know.
We tried to get him to comb his hair different.
But one thing I want to say, whoever done that, they're not as efficient as I was because I always got my job done in time.
We also have a new manager in the department, Joe. That's Mr. Tom Cook. Would like to say something to you.
Well, I'm the newest member of the team. I don't know everybody yet that well, but I have to say that Joe was probably one of the first guys I met because when I got into my office, I couldn't get into my drawers. So I asked Dennis, I said, who do I need to talk to about keys? And they said, well, just go see Joe. And I said, Joe who? And they said, Joe, right? You'll find Joe. Joe's easy to find. I didn't know what he meant by that, but so it was about a day later, Joe came in, he said, I'll fix you up. And 5 minutes, he had me working, he had all the drawers ready to go, and I said, that was really great. That's the best service I've gotten, I think, since I've been in facilities. And so then at that point, every morning I come in, I see Joe sitting there, there's always a big smile on his face. Good morning, how you doing? And that, one of the friendliest men I think I've ever met in this whole organization. I just have to say thank you. It was only a short term, but I hope I get to see you occasionally. And
tell him what I said to you. He says, I gotta have this locked up. And I said, why? You've got the door to lock up. Why do you need the furniture? He says, my boss wants it locked up. I said, who's your boss? He says, Tom Blakeslee. I said, who's Tom Blakeslee?
By the way, who is Tom Blakeslee? His name is next on my list here. You can get yours now, Joe.
I couldn't help it.
He didn't know Tom was next.
Joe's a key man, obviously. On behalf of General Motors, I would like to say a few things. Joe is really acting out probably a dream or a vision that all of us would have that work for General Motors. He's worked 30 years. He's retiring in good health. He has his family with him, and he's doing what we would all like to do when we retire. He's going to go have fun, hopefully. He's well respected by all the hourly folks. He's well respected by management. What more could you ask for? A long and glorious career, and to go out on such a high note like this with all his peers here that have worked with him over the years. And Joe, I just want to thank you on behalf of General Motors management and myself personally, because I came over in 1987. I'm the old school, I guess. Now that's a long time, 7 years. But I've grown to know Joe just like the rest of you. And we had a bunch of employees like Joe Stefan. There's no doubt in my mind, I shouldn't say this, but our profit sharing would probably be about $7,000 bucks. Oh! So, Joe, good luck.
what you're probably sharing is you guys earned it. Speaking of being one of the old guys and being here a long time, there's quite a few of us are here part of an organization that we first hired in called Fisher Body. And as a token of that, we've had quite a few of the Fisher Body guys, Joe, gather together and try to scrounge up something that, some memento that might be of value to you that you would appreciate. And I don't know where this came from, but it was told to me to just give it to Joe and have him open it. Must have come out of the shop, it's wrapped in cocktails.
All right, Joe. All right. Very beautiful. That is nice.
Joe, you want to tag me for something we didn't know exactly what on this.
Oh, that's beautiful, just like it is.
Now, if you put it up to on your window or something,
Like stained glass.
Like stained glass.
Oh, okay.
That's a piece of glass.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you very much.
That comes from dedicated fellow workers. And you can have the shop towels.
They smell like painters.
Susan, if you would just help him here a minute. We know he's nervous and excited. So if you just kind of hold something up like when he gets it so it can be videotaped. Because we just missed it. The camera's down there. If you would. Let me get from behind it. Make it look good at least.
Hey, Rinky, you gotta film me there.
It's only practice.
As you've heard mentioned a few times, in the last, how long have you been the key man around here? About 5, 6 years, 10 years? Okay. You know, so as you're walking around sometimes and you know Joe has every man's respected here, or let me say I don't know of anyone that doesn't respect Joe, but sometimes you'll hear guys throw little comments that, and they're meant purely in jest, as turkey, as opposed to turnkey or the key man. So as a token of me starting, somebody starting that turkey bit, somebody in the shop made something for you, at home of course. Well, it takes dedication and loyalty to do something for somebody who's retiring to do it at home.
I always needed a key. Finally got one.
That's a key.
Motors key man. 9/14/64. I'll read it again. Okay. General Motors key man. 9/14/64 when I started working here, and 1/31/95. That's the end. That's the date. Back here, they told me face this way. Back there.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Now that we've got all the business aside, we'll try to have a few laughs and stuff. Just one.
I don't understand. I'm the leader and they get away with so much that I don't know what they were doing.
Maybe your guys, when you do something at home, Joe, you have no control of it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
I'll take the paper for you. Just a few little stories. If you want to be seated, Joe, it's going to take me about 45 minutes to tell this story. This is a true story brought to me by one of your very best friends. Somebody said Joe Traub. Is that your best friend?
Pretty close.
That's who it came from then. I understand Joe is also a hunter, and he's very good with a shotgun, especially a 12 gauge. You know, you can hardly miss anything with a 12 gauge. I know, I squirrel hunt with a 22 rifle. You don't believe that. But anyway, what's your name? Joe, that's his name. Joe rabbit hunts for big shoe. Some of us who may not know, they're big jackrabbits with real large feet.
No.
They're not?
No.
Tell me what a big...
No, that's not a big shoe. That's a European hare. They're in Canada. Yeah. They're about as big as a bee. They are.
So you just put a noose around your neck. This ain't as big as a beagle.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now I'll finish my story. Apparently, Joe Traub and Joe Stefan and a couple other guys went big shoe hunting up in Canada. And Joe is a dedicated person to hunting. He doesn't miss. And even if he does, he won't admit it. But I understand that one particular time you went big shoe hunting and rabbit jumped up and started running and you blasted 2 or 3 rounds at it and it kept on going. And not willing to accept defeat, but that you had missed, you followed the tracks until that poor rabbit jumped up again. You fired about 3 or 4 more rounds. And the hare just kept right on flying around out across the valley. Still not wanting to give up, you followed that rascal. And when it jumped again, you fired a few more rounds, a total of about 8 or 10 rounds. And obviously, a few of the shot picked that rabbit enough to slow it down, and you had to step on it to kill it. Joe Traub has never been labeled a guy who would exaggerate the truth.
It was 13 rounds. But I never give up. I ran out of shells, see? That's why I tracked him down and caught him by hand. Joe, where are you? And that is not all.
He did not step down by hand. No, he couldn't, because every time he wanted to go down, the rabbit jumped.
I'm sure that when he stepped on it, it died.
He would have hit that rabbit. Really, he would hit it. But every time he pulled the trigger, the rabbit jumped. That's why he didn't hit it.
I always had good luck with targets. They always held still. I could get those real easy. Joe also, being an avid hunter, wanted to take some time with his sons and teach them to hunt. I understand you took Robert deer hunting, and in order to make sure Robert got the best opportunity to get a deer, they went in early, and Joe found a real nice spot for Robert to sit where he could get a good, nice view of different terrains where the deer might possibly come roaming through. And Joe walked away from him quite a distance away and just sort of where he could keep an eye on him to make sure he didn't get hurt, because it's always a possibility in deer hunting that somebody could get hurt. Well, from Joe's view, he could see that directly behind Robert was, how many?
It was about 13, 14 deers.
So Joe, naturally sitting on the far side of the field, was trying to get Bob's attention. And for some reason he had difficulty doing that, and Robert finally decided to yawn and stretch, and away went the deer. Did Bob ever believe that all those were behind him when you told him?
Now that's a true story. I told him, I set him on my spot, and I said, now, the deers are coming this way, but before you move, you know, you don't see any deer, you turn around slowly and look. Then you stand up, you know. So I see him, and he must have fell asleep. So it was bow hunting, by the way, too. So he stood up, and he went, ah, and the deers were about 30 yards, 40 yards behind him, coming right at him. And he goes, oh. If I had a gun, I would have shot in the air. Don't get me. I don't believe this. So that's not all. So he sat back down, and the same place, and I watched the deer. They went back in the woods, and they stood there. So he went down, sit again, and I'm not kidding, about a half hour later, the deer come right back. They weren't quite as far. He did the same thing. Stood up, looked around, well, the deer didn't go back and they ran the other way. But that's a true story, too.
Chip off the old block, eh, Joe?
I'd say Robert caught on well. Speaking of shooting, and this one kind of puzzles me, we know that you do a lot of sport shooting and competitive shooting, and is one of the best in your was it trap shooting? In your what's it, team or?
No, we're a club.
A club. Joe is one of the best. What position are you, Joe, in club?
Well, I'd say that when we started off, there was like about 10 guys, and that was pretty good.
Pretty good, that's modesty there. So, to help you continue that, Joe, we picked up another small gift for you. That brown paper just don't want to give up, does it?
You know, I feel like the parents when they're on the shower, you know, have to unwrap all this. You know, I'm nervous.
He's nervous.
I didn't look at the time. Oh, those things come in handy.
Was it traps?
I got a leak. Oh, these are game loads. That means for the rabbit when they go hunting, so
I understand the larger the number of shot. This one is an 8.
yeah, there's more BBs in it.
It gives you a better chance to hit, right?
Yeah, if they're close. Thank you very much.
You want to make sure they're a little further away than the distance of your toe. Because those small shot will take off a toe, I've been told. You can just remain standing, Joe, if you want. I understand Joe is also into this, we call it trap shooting. And I don't really understand that, Joe. But you can explain to me in a minute. You can open this gift here. Those should be easy to hit. I mean, they stay in the same place, but they do spin around. So there's a little competition here, a little difficulty.
That's nice.
The thing that really puzzles me, Joe, I don't know if I ever told you, but I grew up down south, around where, similar to Randy Karloff. I hate to make that association. But anyway, these traps like this, when I went to the store to get those, they said, you have an infestation of rats and mice? I said, no, I don't, but a friend of mine shoots those. She says, he does what? And I said, well, that's the same thing I said when I heard that he shoots trap. I said, we always use these around the corn crib to catch rats and mice, and I don't understand it, Joe. Could you explain a little bit about what trap shooting is, how this works? Are they hanging up on a string or something?
Well, I don't know, did you just come up from the south?
You're the brunt of the jokes.
Well, a lot of people shoot skeet, and whoever shoots skeet knows what trap shooting is. It's the same thing in skeet, except on trap, the pitching's a little farther away, and there's a play pitchings, okay? Yes. And
We call those skeet.
no,
We do.
no, skeet is something different. But we don't have much time. I don't really want to go into it.
Real pain in the side you are. So as I was talking to a couple of the other guys, Joe, and they had some comment along those same lines that you were talking, that I had misunderstood what trap shooting was. So the next closest thing we can come up with is we picked you up a few something else for you to shoot and bang around the house with. Please don't do these in the den.
Oh, I don't open it up.
No. These are official Michigan clay targets. We also understand, Joe, that you use that nice lady to your left a lot for your own personal gains, like a retriever.
Excuse me?
Obviously, I wasn't supposed to mention it in that one.
Explained it a little because I don't follow this.
Well, I'm as lost as you are, Joe. I thought maybe you could help me.
No, I have no.
She does retreat?
No.
Okay. I thought maybe if you were, I was told that sometimes you use Maria as a retriever.
No.
Now, okay, I won't push it any further because apparently you don't want to talk about this one.
That's something I forgot.
I was supposed to call Maria back and clear all of these little subjects with her, and I forgot to do that. I misplaced your home phone number, and I was going to do it today, and that's why I asked you this morning, is she coming in at lunch and then at 3:30 and you're taking her back between so I can catch her in between? But in the meantime, I was sleeping, so I failed to clear that one
I
with
wish
her.
you would have cleared that up because I'm in the dark now too.
Yeah, okay, maybe she'll prefer to keep you that way. Okay. I also understand, see, when is uniform supposed to come out? I mean, we're supposed to get some replacement uniforms, and that's supposed to be in May, is it? And you're retiring now, Joe. Us guys on the committee who helped put this party together, we thought, geez, this is an opportunity for us to pick up a couple extra uniforms. So we started flipping coins to see who gets Joe's uniforms. And suddenly we realized that there was none of us that could wear them. Do you have any suggestions on what we should?
Well, I tell you, there's one guy in this place that I know of, and he's allowed on a diet like me. Now, if he loses like I lose, about maybe 15, 20 pounds, he'll fit right into that uniform. Richard Glassford, where are you?
Joe's good, man.
Oh my, those guys have teased each other for a long time about diet. Just about every morning, Richard would say something to Joe about, looks like you're putting on a little weight. No, he says, I'm still on my diet. He says, I dropped a pound or two. And Joe would say to Rich, looks like you're putting on a pound or two. And Rich would say, no, I've lost. And none of us could really tell if there was any change whatsoever. Maybe we weren't as aware. Didn't want to be maybe as aware as you. I also understand you have a cottage up north. We talked about that a little bit right in the beginning. And you've had that about how many years is it? About 18, 20 years?
About 20 years.
You spend a lot of time up there gardening and got a pond on it. You got a lot of time. Right. I understand Joe's had some misfortune up there with people going in, you know, and opening doors and going in and helping themselves to dinner. And I'm surprised they'd find anything after Joe's left. But anyway, Joe has done quite a bit of home improvement at his cottage, and I understand you've built a garage since you've had it, yeah. Did you have any help on that?
Oh, I had a great help.
You did? Was it union labor?
No.
I understand you, pardon? Well, I understand she was claiming to belong to a union of some sort, but you wouldn't recognize it. Sounds familiar. Sounds familiar. But anyway, his helper happened to be Maria. And I understand she had to threaten to go on a strike to get you to take a break or let her take a break.
And it's hard to believe, but my wife can say that when I'm working, I don't take breaks.
It's true.
Just like here. Just like it.
That's at home, though, Joe.
She says, if you don't take a break, I'm going on strike. I says, well, without her, I couldn't do nothing, so we went on break. We had lunch. That's the truth.
Did you take her out to lunch or did you have her cook?
No, she cooked.
She cooked. Yeah, she fixes a good lunch apparently. There was something else about the cottage up there that you needed some help with. I'm having difficulty reading my notes here. I believe it says countertops, 18 years to build or something. And you had to call in. No, you didn't. You didn't call in the help. Maria did. Who did she call on? Do you remember?
She called a couple of mean, tough guys. She
told him I promised her to build a countertop for up north for 15 years. I had everything there, but I just didn't finish it. And there is two guys in here, and they're meaner than heck. Every day they passed at me, they like got sick and tired when to build it. And it got her wish. And that's Mark and Chris. Stand up, you guys. So every time that she wants something done, she says, you better do it, or otherwise you call Chris and Mark. So I've been pretty good since.
The story I got on that is almost identical to what he said there, except for these guys stopped by to visit with Joe one afternoon, and Joe wasn't at home, so they sat around and shot the breeze with Maria, got acquainted with her, and found out she was one nice lady, and they asked her if they could ever do anything for her to let them know, and she says, by the way, you probably could, but I don't know, I'd like to get a countertop made for us up north. And they said, well, hasn't Joe done it yet? And she said, well, no, I've been waiting about 15 to 18 years for you to finish it. And they said, just leave it up to us. And said the following weekend, when they went up north, Joe finished the countertop. There's a little bit of philosophy that Joe kind of adheres to, and I think he still has it stuck on the key room door. I just wanted to share it with you because I read when he first put it up there, and I was impressed with it, but some of you maybe haven't been around him too much, may not be fully aware, is Joe is a tremendous practical joker. And everything is done on the light side. Never to the point of possibly causing injury or someone to get hurt, but always for a laugh. And Joe's always been good at that. I understand that he was helping the furniture movers for having to be working in the area when furniture movers were on the second floor moving a bunch of file cabinets, and somebody moved a file cabinet and there was a couple pennies or something and other coins of some sort laying under the file cabinets or near the edge of it, and Joe comes up with this bright idea, and this was during day shift when the area was really crowded with people all around. Joe reaches in his wallet, pulls out $1 and slides it down between the next file cabinet. So when the movers pulled out the next file cabinets, oh, here's money! And then here comes everybody swamped right over there trying to help move the file cabinets because they want to get in on the money. And he's standing back, leaning against the wall, holding his stressed heart, having a really belly whacker, really laughing hard at those guys. I think the best one that I've heard that Joe did was to a very, very close friend. Now, this went on for quite a few years is my understanding. I don't know exactly the extent of time, but the guy's name was Armand Caroselli. I understand he was a painter? Yes. He was a painter. So he and Joe, I understand, used to ride to work together. If they didn't ride to work together, they'd sort of end up meeting in the parking lot. They'd walk in together every day. Joe always packed his lunch, so did Armand. And Armand would always set his lunch down at his workbench and go immediately to the locker room to change clothes. And Joe would always manage to stay behind just for a bit. Well, having the nice wife that Joe has, she always put in some fruit or some cookies, sometimes some homemade cookies in Joe's lunch. So Joe would watch to see as soon as Armand went in the locker room, he'd open his own lunch bag, take out the cookies or fruit, whatever it might be, and put it in Armand's lunch. Close the bag back up real neat. At lunchtime, they'd sit down at the break table to eat. And as Armand would be opening his lunch and taking out his stuff and beginning to consume it, Joe would say, ooh, that sure looks good. That's a nice orange that you have there. And Armand, being a nice guy like Joe, you know, birds of a feather sort of flock together, he'd say, well, Joe said, here, you can have it. And Joe would just thank him and tell him how much he appreciated, and the juice would squirt out his jaw, and Joe would make a big deal over it about what a good orange that Armand had given him. And maybe the next day it'd be a banana, the next day it'd be a peach, or whatever it might be that Joe had in his lunch. He would stick it into Armand's, and Armand knew nothing of it. One day he comes in, and Maria had baked some really good cookies. Joe had 6 or 8 cookies in a little bag, so he sticks them in Armand's lunch. And at lunchtime, Armand gets out his lunch and they start to eat, and he said something about, I don't know why my wife keeps putting this stuff in my lunch. And Joe says, what is it? He says, well, looks like homemade cookies. Joe says, ooh, says, I'll bet those are good. And he said, well, sure, Joe, here. So he rips the bag and sets it over for Joe to help himself. And Joe gets one out, and he starts going on again. Oh, are those really good? Armin, did you try these yet? Well, no, he hadn't. So Joe finally gets him to try one. He says, yes, they are good. Wow, those are really good. Joe says, Armin, would you do me a big favor? He said, well, sure, Joe, what is it? You're my friend. He says, would you ask your wife to write down that recipe and give it to me tomorrow? I'd like to have my wife bake me some cookies like that. And Joe still never told him. He goes home and asks his wife for a recipe for cookies. And the wife said, what cookies? I've never put cookies in your lunch. You won't eat them anyway. So he comes in the next morning and proceeds to verbally tear Joe apart. He began to figure it out then. So then when Joe told him this had been going on for a couple of years, did that end the friendship, or did that kind of bring it a little closer together?
It brought it a little closer together.
Yeah, shortly after that he retired.
But sometimes his practical jokes can last a long time. We don't know. We might have had one played on us today and don't know about it yet. There's another thing he used to do. Joe was quite a bit into making his own sausages, and he always laces it with red hot peppers or some kind of peppers. And when he brings it into work, and I think he does this intentionally, I've only seen maybe one or two people who was able to consume part of what he brought in. He would always want to share. I mean, he'd cut it all for you with that sharp knife of his, real neat, push it across the table till you put it on a napkin. Here, go ahead, try it. It's really good. I made that. It's homemade. And the guys would try it. About the time they get about 3 bites on it, they're immediately up to the water fountain. And Joe's going, yeah! With that normal laugh. What's the matter? Is it good? Joe would even catch guys who he knew couldn't handle hot peppers, and if they happened to leave their coffee cups sitting at the break table, he'd bring in those little light green banana peppers, and he would rub that pepper around the top of their coffee cup. And when they'd come back and take a sip, naturally it's hot. Joe'd say, is your coffee hot? I took the opportunity one time to try to challenge Joe a little bit on that, because there wasn't one or two people who could really take a bite or two of his sausage and sit there and eat it, keep a straight face with no tears and no red face. And he comes in one day with these little green peppers, and I've seen them a lot, and I thought they were just green peppers. So Joe says, would you care for a bite of that pepper? And I said, yeah. I said, are they hot? He said, well, they're not too hot. He says, they're a little hot, but not hot. I said, okay, I'll try a bite. So he's cut off a little slice. Of course, he had 4, 5, 6 slices sliced off of there, and I took a bite and put it in my mouth, and the inside of it, like somebody squirted lighter fluid in my mouth and set it on fire. So tears begin to roll, but I'm still trying to maintain composure. And Joe says, are they good? Yeah, they're good. But they're not hot. Have some more. And I said, oh, okay. So I had another one. I must have had 3 or 4 slices of that, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. Tears were dripping off my cheek. He's falling off of his stool. He said, you're right, they're not hot, are they? Yes. Also does head cheese too, and it's just as good. Same flavor. Same flavor. One other practical joke he did one time, as all of you probably remember, Bill Marxer. I always kind of classified Bill as being a very well-educated person, had a tremendous vocabulary, and could always come up with some, no matter what the problem was, if you dropped your pencil, he could make it funny. And he was sitting at the break table one day, morning break, and Joe had just had his sausage, had to get up and go to the sink and wash his hands because he was ready to wipe his eyes and they'd catch on fire. So as he turns from the wash basin, the little sink there, Marxer has his back to him, and Joe's hands were dripping with water, and Joe goes, achoo! And slung water on the back of Bill Marxer's neck. Marxer very politely starts rising to his feet, keeping his composure, and you can see him lighting up. His face is getting red, and he hears Joe's laugh. He knows he's just been had. He says, you, and he composed himself. He said, "That was funny, Joe. That was funny." So Bill managed to keep his wits there. See if I have anything else here to share with you. I forgot something, Joe. A good friend of yours, a picture that we managed to, Armin Caroselli.
Whoever knows Carousel.
Well, I tell you, I had a lot of fun with Caroselli, like you said. Matter of fact, I had a lot of fun over here in the years. And good times, and some bad times, but mostly good times. And it's good to think back of all the good times. Gary Neely knows me very well. He had a lot of hot coffee.
There's a couple other items over here. This doesn't have a name on it. It may be for me. If it is, you just let me know. For me. Yep, that's for me. About $21 in it.
Well, I tell you guys, is that the end? Should I make my end speech or you got something? But I tell you, it's really, it's real nice. I'm going to say this on the end. But I don't know how much is here there, but it looked like a lot of beer money.
Or donuts.
Maria tells me beer is not on your diet.
Donuts needed.
I also have something else here that was put together by some admirers of yours. And if you don't mind, it's a little heavy, so I'll try to help you hang on to it. But this is just to say thank you, Joe, of how much we appreciate you being here, appreciate the person that you are, and it comes from all your friends. Is that craftsmanship? He's on his way to the back. Is that craftsmanship?
Where is he? Joe, are you here? I know who made it.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No?
This was professionally done.
That's from Joe Gold?
No. He did the artist or the framework.
It just comes from your friends, Joe.
The framework, right?
It doesn't matter, Joe. Carpenter did it. I'm not at all surprised you didn't recognize it.
I know. Bob Henderson did the Carpenter work?
I don't know who did it.
Yeah, Bob.
No, who did the cartoon?
You have to ask Bob.
It should be answer, Joe. It should be answer enough for you to say it's professionally done.
That's beautiful.
That an artist thrown in.
That is beautiful.
I said I'd help him, and I walked away from him. I have one other item that was given to me just before we started here, Joe, just before you showed up, from a good friend of yours who wanted me to share that with you.
Oh, yes, Troy.
Tech Center News.
Tech Center News. That's the guy that, where is he at? Hi, Troy. You want me to walk with you?
Yeah. Control your fat.
That guy here about 150 pounds, running around, guys. So whoever wants to lose weight, see Troy.
Reduce, Joe, reduce, not lose. You lose it,
You're just reducing.
Very nice.
You don't lose it. You always know where it went, don't you?
Yes.
Joe, there's something else that I just wanted to mention to you, and this is from my own point of view. Different guys have been up here and made comments about Joe, about what a nice gentleman he is, and I have to say that, in my opinion, I'd like to have a lot of neighbors like Joe. And when I say neighbors, I mean people who live next door. Unfortunately, we can only have about 2 or 3, so that'd probably be enough like Joe. Anyway, a man of all heart. When we were putting this party together, Joe, I just want to talk briefly to you in front of all these folks and tell them this is the most difficult party I've ever tried to work with, and it's all your fault. We just wanted you to know that. And the reason we're telling him this, I'm trying to keep a straight face, don't I? The reason we're telling you this is Joe got so upset thinking he was the problem that he was in tears about 3 or 4 different times. And it wasn't Joe's fault at all. The only difficulty we were having was getting our thoughts together. When you get 8 or 10 people together trying to put something together, if we don't all meet together in a meeting and have united thought, sometimes we end up doing things a little bit differently. And Joe thought he was the problem. And I'd have to say, I've seen him in tears probably a dozen times since I've been here, which is a couple of years shorter than him. But when you see Joe stand up here and we all make comments about him being a little heavy, in my opinion, that's all heart. And I can say that with honesty. I believe that's all heart, Joe. We love you.
Well, I tell you, it's a real pleasure, a real good feeling to see so many friends that are here tonight, and it makes you feel good. And I want to thank all of you for being here, because it makes me really feel good. And especially those that put all this work together, and all the bosses that let it happen and go on the time. And I don't know how much time we got, but anyway, it's really nice. I don't know what to say except thank you for all, and it's been nice working with you, and I'm going to miss all of you. Now I'm going to stop by and see you once in a while. So thank you for everything.
Just before we break up, I just wanted to share with Joe some of the guys who were involved and point some recognition to where it belongs. If you guys, as I call your name, would just stand up, and if there's any ladies in this group you can stand up to, please do. Rick Barrett, Lee Shagna, Al Homage, Rick Konjarovich is doing the snapshots or the photographs. Larry Rinke's doing the video. Stan Kenya, Bob Henderson, Chris Andolin, Mark Stevenson, and Maria Stefan. And the next group is the supportive management staff. Would you stand up? Come on, Tom, it's all right. Roll call. All of these people put in dedicated devotion to getting your party to come off as pleasantly as it has, Joe. We just wanted you to know that even though sometimes things start off a little rough, it's like building a new road. Sometimes you got to cut down some trees and get over some rocks, but we finally got pavement down, and your party's gone well. And we just wanted to know we did it all for you, from our heart.
Hey, Joe.
If you'd like to stick around and shake hands with Joe, send him out of here with a smile. And if he starts crying, you kick his shins, he stops immediately.
Hey, make sure you get this.
You know what the big golf trophy is? The big golf trophy is? That's not Rusty.
All the rankings in this world, I had to know a 4.
Yeah, right.
How you been? Not the name.
The story of your life, man. You always get on the backside.
Oh, man.
Testing, 1, 2. Take the time, if you would take the time before you leave, to sign the picture that's in the little folder. Take a minute and sign the picture before you leave.
When you open the big package,
Have a good day.
you too. It's running.
You gonna give him that picture?
Look at my good side. Whoa, I don't have a good side.
You don't have a good side?
Step aside. Push it up. I don't have a boss. See you later. Take care.
I don't think we're going to be able to get this stuff out of here now.
Sure we will.
What I'm going to do
Good care.
That's just a 50. I have it here. I think that's a pretty good one. I've never run it out. And it's lead acid, I think. No, I didn't. I know you're listening to the whole damn thing. A few years ago.
Someone told me to go to a camera meets
It's not a bad one.
Even when I smashed it, I noticed that I don't think I've ever seen him but he got over it. I got that too. That feeling's one of I was going to tell him. No, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I think if you had long legs, how much you'd weigh. Aren't those flowers beautiful? Yeah. Well,